professionals and take a deep dive into what makes them tick, and also learn more about them and how they became what they are today. And my guest today, Martha Donato of Mad Events, founder and president. And I'm your host, Expo Rich. We're broadcasting live from the Expo trade show floor here in Louisville, Kentucky. So Martha, tell us a little bit about Mad Events.
Yeah. Hi, Rich. Thanks so much for inviting me to join your podcast. I've been waiting for like 2 years, so I'm really happy you finally invited me. So, as you said, Martha Donato. I'm the founder and president of Mad Event Management. We're based in New York. And I started Mad Events after I got fired from my event job at a publisher back in 2008. So in early 2009, I formed Mad Event Management, and I thought that I was going to become a consultant.
Oh, yeah.
But there was, if you recall the Great Recession, there was no work to be had. So
that's what I was going to say. Or you said fired, but that year, a lot of people got fired.
A lot of people got fired. They got let go.
Yes.
Yeah. So I was very fortunate to have worked in LA County for most of my career. And I reached out to my contacts there, in particular at the Long Beach Convention Center, and said, I've started my own company and I'd really like to do something in your building on my own. What does that look like? And for any of you listening who know Ellen Schwartz, she was my point person in the Long Beach Convention Center. She just retired from the LA Convention Center after a really long career there. But she said, sure, I'll give you a chance. And then October of 2009, Long Beach Comic-Con ran its first edition. Yeah, so that was the start. And eventually that did come to pass, that consulting jobs came through as I had always hoped. So over the course of however many years that's been, 13, it's been a mix of owning our own events and providing consulting services for other event producers.
And so you'll partner with them and help manage and organize?
Yeah, so we've done you name any sort of partnership deal we've done, and just straight up consulting too, which, during the pandemic, the only revenue we had coming in was from pure consulting clients.
Oh, wow.
So call that diversity in the company, not diversity, but
diversification.
Yeah. Just having some different baskets to lean on. Really, that's why we made it through, because the pandemic would have just crushed us otherwise.
And so early on, so what was your position at? Would you say it was Cranes?
So I could back up even further. So in 1997, I was working for a magazine publisher. I was the marketing director, and we purchased what was then Chicago Comic-Con.
Oh, okay. Yeah, because I was wondering how you got into the pop culture events anyway. So.
Yeah, exactly. So I was working for this magazine group. There were multiple fan magazines. One of them was The Wizard, The Guide to Comics.
Okay.
And so it made sense to buy. There were only 5 or 6 Comic-Cons in existence at that point in the U.S. And we bought that one and bought it. And with about 3 months' notice, they said, hey, Martha, you're the marketing person, so you're going to run this thing. And I said, okay, no problem, I'll do it. But
sink or swim.
Sink or swim. 20,000 people, large-scale event, no experience at all. It was a disaster, but it launched me into that manic world of producing events. I loved it right away, and hooked me.
Yeah, and it's one of those you don't know what you don't know until you find out.
Yeah, exactly. And I went on to that business, developed an event at the Pennsylvania Convention Center. At the LA Convention Center, at the Long Beach Convention Center, in Arlington, Texas, in Boston. We expanded into multiple markets, and that was a good run. That was 10 solid years of really good experience running large-scale consumer shows, and that did set me up to be able to go out on my own and do what I've been doing, but as you know, I've diversified into B2B events. B2C it's always been a challenging market.
Yeah.
So
beyond just trade show training and, like I said, swimming in the deep end. Where, I mean, you obviously being an entrepreneur and being a business owner, there's an amount of hustle that you need to have, and and grit. And where would you say that comes from for you? Like, where does that originate from?
That's a good question. I'm not sure. I think just probably not wanting to have a boss. That's really a lot of it, right? And wanting to have freedom to pick which projects I'm going to work on. That's played into it a lot. But you mentioned Crane Communications. So that was one point in time. I took on consulting work for Crane. And after a couple of years of just doing projects for them, one of the publishers there said, would you come on full time? And so from 2011 to 2014, I held the dual role of a full-time event job at Crane Communications based in Chicago, and I live in New York.
Right.
And I was, with permission from the Crane family, I kept Mad Event Management running as long as it didn't interfere. And they were squarely B2B in conferences. There was no conflict with Long Beach Comic Con. So I brought it all down that I only had the 2 events in Long Beach. And then I did that full time as well.
Wow.
And in 2014, I decided it was time to go back to full time with Mad Event Management. And so the funny part of the story is I used Metropolitan Expositions as my general services contractor at my full-time job at Crane Communications and for Long Beach. And one day, one of the owners, Marty Glenn's wife, called me and she said, what do you do for a living? Because our children are the same age. She'd been to my house for birthday parties and we knew each other. And I said, I'm in the event business. And she said, so's my husband. And it turned out we were neighbors, our kids the same age, and we didn't know that I was his client, he was my general services contractor.
Wow.
And so that the shortcut to that conversation is we decided to become business partners. He had call it a long time interest in learning more about the other side of the business, coming from he started out with Freeman, and ultimately him and his partners sold their business to Freeman, and then he was full-time working with me doing business development, helping me grow the company. And so that allowed us to take the company into a lot of different directions.
Oh, that's great.
Yeah.
And it's nice to have a partner that has a intimate understanding of the other side of it too. So
it's like getting a PhD in the event industry, because he's very open with telling me how things work behind the scenes and things I didn't ever know. I feel like I'm much more well educated about the overall business. And I think he would say the same. He had no idea what the organizer really went through on a day-to-day basis. So it's been very good for both of us.
That's great. And so your whole career basically was events, and how do you equate producing events to navigating and owning a business?
Yeah, that's a good question, Rich. So as you know, when you own your own business, because you also do, you have to know a little bit about a lot of things. So I would say that's analogous to producing an event, right? You have to know how to handle the marketing, the audience development, the operations, dealing with the venues, dealing with vendors, understanding P&L and financial models and how you're going to scale something, and then get into, we've done a lot of partnership deals.
Yeah.
So I'm like half a lawyer with, I've got the J, not the D. But you have to know a lot about a lot of things. And maybe I get by with knowing a little bit about a lot of things for now, but I do always try and educate myself in every new thing I encounter, say tech, right? You really have to dive in, and you can't say, I don't know how to do that. You have to figure it out. So make it your business to keep up with your skills.
Yeah. And if you want to enter a space, you have to learn about that space, and you got to learn all the lingo, and you got to learn all the players. And
it's a good point.
Yeah. So we're constant students.
So you're right. Always be learning. And I was doing a panel I don't remember for what, maybe for CISO. And it was about launching events. And they said, count how many event launches you've done. So I counted, and it was 33.
Wow.
And so that's 33 different industries that you have to learn, right? Because to your point, each one's different, and the buy-sell relationship is different, and the audience is different. You have to learn. You have to really become a student of that community.
Yeah. And it's interesting because when people that don't know about our industry, and I'm having a conversation trying to explain what I do for a living, one thing I always tell them is that I love the industry so much because I get to learn about every single industry. It's like no matter what someone does, there's a trade show for it. You know?
Absolutely,
there's
it's so
convention
true.
about it, and being around it as a contractor and building these things and being able to be present and learn about all the new products and all the new services and all the technologies and things. It's been one thing. It's a blessing because I feel like I could walk into any room and have a conveation with whoever's in the room.
Definitely,
because I know a little bit about whatever they do.
Yeah,
so,
exactly.
So,
I feel the same. Yeah.
It's been great. So what's next for you? Like, what's something that gets you excited to get out of bed in the morning? Like, what's the newest project that you're going to be excited?
Well, during the pandemic, I was really lucky to connect with a European group called Women in Exhibitions Network, and with Stephanie Selesnik and Laura Purdy, we set up, and a few other really key women, Danica Tom-Olin, we set up a North American chapter of Women in Exhibitions Network, and that's been a passion project for this group of us, to get the word out about that and to reach women who don't have strong networks and develop that network, help them develop a network.
Yeah.
And that's been my passion project for the last 2 years, and that will continue on. We just hired our first executive director paid position. So we're advancing it and moving it forward, and it's really exciting and heartwarming to be a part of it. Yeah.
So how other women out there that may see this and watch it, how do they become part of that and get involved?
Yeah, they can just Google Women in Exhibitions Network. We have an international website, so we have chapters in the Netherlands, in the UK, in Germany, in North America, including Toronto, and you can just go online and all the sign-up information's there. It's very affordable. We only charge $99 a year. We do monthly meetups. We'll have one today here in Louisville at 5 o'clock. And and it's not just for women. Rich, you're welcome to join us. What we do is any time there are more than 3 or 4 of us at an industry event or anything like that, we arrange a meetup. And we put the word out through our network, and we get together as often as we can.
Well, invitation accepted. I'll be there today.
Awesome. All right.
And as far as Matt Events, how do people find you?
MattEventManagement.com.
Okay.
Yeah.
And what's the next event that you're going to be working on?
So right now I'm working on a launch called Shift Expo.
Oh, nice.
And that's a lifestyle event, and it'll be held in Atlantic City.
Okay.
And so that's a really nice partnership with Meet AC, Atlantic City Convention Center, and OVG. Really nice program that we put together. We'll launch that in October of next year, and that's for 42 to 67-year-olds and trying to figure out what that next stage of your life looks like.
Wow.
Yeah, so that's going to be fun.
That's great, and it's something that a lot of people talk about, but nobody really has done something like that. So that's really great.
Yeah, I'm excited about that. We say we're not your parents' AARP. This is going to be fun, lighthearted. We have a nice comedic element that we're running through it, so not take yourself too seriously.
Oh, that's great.
That'll be good. And then, of course, Long Beach Comic-Con will be back.
What are the dates of that?
It'll be Labor Day weekend next year. Yeah.
Excellent. And so the Long Beach Comic-Con website?
LongBeachComicCon.com.
All right.
Yeah.
Well, thank you so much for being here.
Thank you, Rich.
Appreciate you. And,
Appreciate you too.
all right. And I'll see you tonight.
See you tonight. Thanks.